exactly right.
Missed you.
You see, well, the problem is, all right, we've got a lot of unlicensed contract, carpet layers, for instance. All right, they go take out the carpet in Summerlin and that. Those places are gated communities. They don't allow you to leave that stuff out at the curb. And those old ladies or whoever is not going to drag this. Right. So they throw it, they pick out each other. Well, no, they come down, and of course, they don't have any lights on the transfer stations, so they have to pay. Well, they just have to pay. Well, they have to pay. They can do that. But they don't.
Like this, you guys.
Call me later, I'll call you back, but I can get a hold of you. Is there something for this meeting you need to talk about? We're gonna pay.
Oh, I thought so.
That's what I was hoping.
Trademark.
Yeah, we're not, Chris has been out of town.
Why?
He's going out in Mexico this week. I don't know when that's coming down.
Is that on our part?
We gotta-
No, that's
Well,
not even one day. Yeah, that's what you guys
we
have.
gotta plug them in.
Well,
You wanna take
the original is certainly not wrong, so.
It's in the electronic file,
You're right, no.
and when it gets attached, if she's converting it, then that's.
Excuse me.
Well, we gotta stop the conversion then, because this doesn't make
The
any
one
sense.
about,
Which one is that?
I'm assuming there's a reason why we.
This is the
So
first, this is the one that's gonna get held in the face. I mean, look at this,
This is the one I didn't understand.
Oh my gosh.
it's,
All kinds of things. I can explain it to you.
Is that what
What
happens?
happens is when we create an improved district over time, as the district is developed, parcels divide.
I mean, we don't have that problem in any other bill, so I don't know why we're converting them all.
It's something that one file
So
in.
that the.
Because that's what happens when I get a lot of stuff from the bond council. Whatever they're doing, every once in a while I'll get one like
How
that.
it works.
No, it's good. Yeah, that's a double print.
And all this we did is this was put in the agenda when it happens.
This one's
That's a
a,
mathematical calculation.
this one we did,
It's something in the,
It's working public works, it's speed up.
And-
in the conversion program.
Okay, that's all I have.
and it shows it on our screen, so it's what it prints.
Charge, I think we're okay.
It's a printing problem because, you know, we look at what's on the screen.
But I think the home builders are really satisfied.
Good, good. I don't know, whatever,
So,
but.
nice to talk with you.
Yeah, you know, I told my secretary, I have a new secretary, and this is like about the fourth time this has happened. And I said, Terry, I said, whenever I get a phone call from the city manager or from a council member and I'm not there, please just patch them through to my cell phone. Just
Yeah.
because sometimes you're a little too polite, and I'd rather if you just get patched through, we can have a conversation.
Well, those were the only things.
Okay. How are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, I'm back from Pennsylvania. I took my oldest granddaughter to college.
Oh, really?
She's going to Penn State, Happy Valley. Happy Valley. And you know what? Well, she did a good job picking the right schools. She wanted to go to Notre Dame, but she couldn't get into Notre Dame. You know that this is the largest number of students applying for colleges in the history of the country. And the next 2 years will even be bigger. So if you have a kid going on to college, and so you know Notre Dame has 9,000 students, and
Well, that's the only one I've seen today.
so it's tough. It's tough. But anyway, this was her second choice, and you know, she had been at ATAC, which is a very academic school, no sports, and she wanted sports, and they've got sports with Joe Paterno and big time sports. And then she likes intramurals. She's sports minded. She doesn't have the natural athleticism of some of my other grandkids, but she just loves it. She has a determination and leadership. So they're about ranked second, I think, in the country for intramural programs. Yeah, and you know, I walked on campus and God, it's so beautiful. The big trees, you know, and the plaques. I didn't know that it was 3 Penn State professors that designed the Vietnam Memorial, and you know, other things, discovering planets and stuff like that. But it just was so stimulating academically, historically, and then it's really in a valley, and the whole thing revolves around the university. Whereas at Notre Dame, the kids I know who have gone there, they sort of felt they were too far away from the city itself. Well, this city's right next to you, and it's all geared towards the kids.
Which river is
What was that?
Which river is Penn State?
I don't
River
know.
that goes to the valley.
Well, there is a river that goes through the valley, but I couldn't tell you the name of the river. Sorry about that. I saw so many rivers. I then went to Pittsburgh, where all the three rivers join. Hi.
Hello, sir.
It's kind of the entrance.
Councilwoman, may I sit next to you?
You obviously may
Thank you.
and can.
It is a privilege. Thank you.
Okay.
I was compelled to check that.
I like that. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call this recommending committee of September 5th, 2006 to order. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes, we are.
This meeting has been posted in various locations throughout the city. We'll move to item number 1. Excuse me? Oh, number 3. It used to be number 1, and we had to change, right. Moving to item number 3. It's my understanding that this is going to be obeyed. Should you still want me to put it into the record? This is bill number 2006-31. It's been an abeyance item from the past. It amends solid waste and recycling regulations by updating service rates, adding rates for overflow collections, eliminating fees for discontinuing service, deregulating rates for competitive service areas, increasing frequency of service options, authorizing pilot programs for recycling, adding customer service standards, revising late payment penalties, adding minimum container requirements, and facilitating recycling by materials recovery facilities. Proposed by Mark Vincent, Director, Department of Finance and Business Services. And Mr. Vincent's going to speak to this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman, Chairwoman, Chairperson.
Either way.
Mark Vincent, Finance and Business Services. Yes, I do want this obeyed to, I think it would be October 3rd is the to recommend committees. We are still working with all the interested parties, seeing if we can come to some agreement on what to do with overflow trash. And we're not there yet, so we need additional time to do that. So our request would be to obey this to October 3rd.
October 3rd. Now, is there anybody here in the audience who wishes to speak to this item?
Yes. Thank you. My name is Todd Barlow, 240 North 19th Street. And I don't mind it being obeyed, but the issues that I brought up in previous meetings still have not been addressed. And I'd like to see those addressed before this is heard. The main issue is this. I live in Ward 3, and the containers there are always overflowing, but it's trash that is originated from other parts of town. For instance, I'll give you one quick thing. Somebody in Summerlin or whatever has carpet reinstalled. Those gated communities do not allow that trash to be put out at the curb until the day that it's been picked up. So the people that laid the carpet, they throw it in their truck, they come down to my area, throw it in the containers. Now the people that own those containers, they're the ones that are going to get fined for this. And they're not the responsible party. So I think that Best Muffler down there, I mean, they throw the stuff in their dumpster, they get their people and just throw it right out in the alley there, prostitution alley. So it all ends up out in the alley, and our neighborhood just looks like a trash yard. So somehow this issue has to be resolved on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, you had brought a couple of other things up too, and we had passed those along to Republic Services, and I know I gave you a copy also, Mr. Vincent, and was that particular item passed along?
I don't know if that particular item was passed along. We do have, obviously, it is currently under existing board, it's illegal to put trash in somebody else's trash bin. That's illegal. It's also illegal to dump trash. So those are already on the books. Of course, the issue is always finding these folks. And so we know in some of our meetings with the property management folks that are able to have, for example, closer cameras and have been able to actually put people on tape. Contractors would drive into the development, dump their carpet remnants and what have you in the bins and drive out. So in some cases they're able to catch them, but that's the issue. Catch them. So And in some cases, we actually do go through the trash to see if there's any evidence that something in the trash that can link us to who might have illegally dumped it. But that's the big issue.
Could you make sure that Republic is aware of this problem? Because Republic could help some too, I would think, although primarily it would be the managers of the apartments.
Councilwoman, what's happening is a rapid response is picking it up. And you know, either then they should give a rebate to rapid response for hauling it out or you know, make some restitution or something like that.
Right,
Rapid response, I mean, there are godsend down in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. They are a godsend in our area also. But if you would follow through with that, Mr. Vincent, because they did ask us to let them know, so we'll be sure and add that to it
And this
also.
is one of the contentious issues that we're still trying to deal with. And what do we do in those cases? And always is from the property manager's perspective, not all these overflows are our fault. And what do we do when they're not our fault?
Right.
And from the Republic's perspective, when they go and pick up the trash bin, it's overflowing. They don't necessarily know where the trash came from either. So that's where this contention is coming in, that we're still trying to figure out a solution for.
Okay. But we are working on a solution. It is more complicated than originally thought, and that's why it's taking more time.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. So this item will be obeyed. Then we'll go to item number 3. Oops, excuse me, 4. Bill number 2006-44, annexation number ANX 12504, property location at 6820 West End Road, petition by Rainbow Regal LLC, acreage 2.9 acres, zone C1, county zoning C1 city equivalent, sponsored by the esteemed Councilman Stephen D. Ross.
This bill is a standard order requested annexation. It's in order, recommend approval.
Did we have anybody else who wanted to make a comment on this particular item? Anybody else wishing to be heard? Hearing none, do you have a motion, Mr. Councilman?
I don't need to abstain, do I, since I'm the sponsor on these?
I don't think so in this situation.
Can never be too cautious. With that, Councilwoman, thank you very much. I would move to recommend to City Council Agenda Item 4 with a due pass. That's my motion.
The motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. So we'll go on to the next item. Right. Bill number 2006-45, annexation number ANX 13642, property location at 5745 North Rainbow Boulevard, petition by Ted and Pamela Sakida, Revocable Living Trust, acreage .83 acres, zoned RE, county zoning, RE, city equivalent, sponsored by Councilman Stephen D. Ross.
Again, small owner-occupied, owner requested annexation is in order, recommend approval.
Do you have anybody from the audience who wishes to speak? All right, Mr. Councilman.
Councilwoman, I make a motion to refer agenda item number 5 to council with a due pass.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Moving on to item number 6, bill number 2006-46, annexation number ANX 13790, property location 6585 and 6574 West Cheyenne Avenue, petition by Elizabeth A. Raymond, separate property trust, acreage 1.77 acres, zone CP, county zoning, O, city equivalent, sponsored by Councilman Stephen Ross.
2 parcels requested for annexation by the owner. It's in order, recommend approval.
Anybody in the audience wishing to make an additional comment or be heard? All right, Mr. Councilman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. On agenda item number 6, I make a motion to refer to council with a due pass.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Moving on to item number 7, bill number 2006-47, annexation number ANX 13936, property location at 4901 Jean Avenue, petition by J. Wayne Arnold, acreage .94 acres, zoned RE, county zoning, RE, city equivalent, sponsored by Councilman Lawrence Weekly.
Again, an owner requested small parcel, recommend approval.
Anybody in the audience wishing to be heard? Any additional comments? Councilman?
Thank you, Councilwoman. On agenda item number 7, I move to refer to council with a due pass.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Going on to item number 8, Bill number 2006-48 authorizes the city treasurer of City of Las Vegas, Nevada to reduce the rate of interest on delinquent assessments for the following special improvement districts: 404, 505, 707, 808, 1446, 1465, 1469, 1470, 1471, 1473, 1482, 1447, 1448, 1450, and 1446. Proposed by Mark Vincent, Director of Finance and Business Services. Mr. Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark Vincent, Finance and Business Services again. NRS 271 requires that penalties be invoked on late payment of special improvement district assessments. It allows for penalties up to 2%, in some cases 1% in other cases, of the entire outstanding balance. So if you could imagine, for example, that you would have a $5,000 special improvement assessment, and maybe your semi-annual payment is $300, and you miss that, the first payment, perhaps you just bought the house in that development and weren't aware of the improvement district, although I'm sure the realtor and everyone properly notified you, but you miss it and you get an assessment for us that says you owe us 2% late penalty, not on the $300 assessment, but on the full $5,000 balance. We have done some analysis that indicates we could actually drop the interest penalty substantially and still have no issues, no concerns with meeting our debt service requirements for those SIDs. Unfortunately, these SIDs that we have listed here all have the 2% penalty written into them as such. And what we're asking for in this case is to allow me as the finance director to set that interest penalty not more than the 2% or 1% as the case may be, but allow us to set that at a rate that will be uniform for all the SIDs, but will be sufficient to get somebody's attention on a late payment, but wouldn't be so large that it would be considered perhaps usury. We get a lot of complaints from folks that I owe this $300 penalty, I know I'm 30 days late, but how come a $300 payment, but I have this $200 late penalty fee, and it seems outrageous to them. And so after doing again the analysis indicates we would drop that fee probably as far down as 1/3 of the percent. So this would allow us to set that penalty rate at our level as opposed to having it static in the ordinance, if that makes sense.
Any questions?
And Mr. Vincent, yes, Councilwoman, if I may. Mr. Vincent, these specific districts have been chosen. Why?
Because the new districts that we have recently passed have the language in those ordinances does allow me to set the rate.
That's
so we don't have an issue with the new ordinances, the old ordinances that we have.
So these are the old special improvement districts prior to that ordinance and the wording being taken care of there. Do you anticipate, if I may, Councilwoman, ask him one more question, do you anticipate the delinquent funds being paid by lowering, reducing this rate of interest?
I'm not sure I understand.
Will this motivate those who are delinquent in their...
The primary motivation for those that are delinquent are the foreclosure process that starts after 90 days. So that's the real hammer that the law requires us to execute. If you're delinquent after 90 days, we start a foreclosure process on the property, which sounds worse than it really is. The foreclosure process starts with the certificate of sale that basically we sell at auction, and we have these auctions because it's good to have about 6 of these auctions a year, 4 to 6 auctions a year. And we sell those at auction, and then the property owner has 2 years, if it's a home, if it's got improvements on the lot, has 2 years to redeem that certificate from the person that bought it. And they have to pay 1% interest per month to the person that bought the certificate. If they fail to redeem that certificate at the end of 2 years, title transfers. You actually physically transfer the title from the property owner to the person who bought the certificate. And I think we've been doing SIDs for approximately 10 years. I think we've had 2 that actually have course of history, have actually changed title. People pay their SIDs. If they don't pay them, the mortgage company steps in and pays them. Someone steps in to pays them. So that's usually the threat of the foreclosure sale is the real hammer that we have.
Councilman, if I may. Then what is the purpose then of reducing the interest rate? I'm still missing that
I
part.
think it's to be fair.
Most people, one of the things that we see happening quite often, particularly people that just move into an SID, the hustle and bustle of buying a house in an area that is in a special improvement district, or sometimes they're in two special improvement. We have many homes in the Summerlin area that actually have two SIDs, two separate payments that they make, and they miss one. And when they get the late payment penalty from us, it's sometimes approaching 50% to 2/3 of what their missed payment was. And to them, it seems like it's unfair that the penalty should be almost as much as their payment. And it's hard to argue that.
You stated that a little better than I could understand.
Thank you.
But I guess, again, do we experience a great deal of delinquency? I mean,
not as a percentage. I mean, we have 24,000 parcels now that are on an SID. So, I mean, even if I get 10%, that's 2,200 calls I get.
enough said. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Well, my understanding was that sometimes those who purchase are put in a position that is unfair as far as what they're charged, and you're trying to level it. Is that correct?
That's true. We're not trying to be overly, what's the word I'm looking for? Overly penalize them. We want the penalty to be comparable to what you see with a different kind of a rate.
Be a just penalty.
Yeah. The real hammer we have, obviously, is the foreclosure process itself. Which we do execute. We may have 20, 30, 40 parcels every 6 months that we go to sale for. You see those that they show up on the agenda, which is not a large percentage when you think you have 24,000 parcels on there. So it allows us to make it a little more fair. The big concern that I would have is it can't be so low
Right.
that I can't make the debt service payment. Part of the reason why the penalties are so stiff in Chapter 271 of the IRS is those obligations are solely secured by those underlying property values. The city is not responsible for making those debt service payments. So we have to make sure that our penalties are enough, or the timing is such that I can still make the required debt service payment without having to dip into other city funds to make that payment. And our analysis shows that we would get liable for 30%, which is sufficient, and we'd still be able to have plenty of room to make the debt service payments. So perhaps the 2% penalty is a little unfair. And so this gives us the flexibility to achieve.
Basically, it's sort of you being proactive in a situation to make it more fair.
Some would say we weren't proactive soon enough.
Well, but you listened to the complaints and then you addressed it in a fair manner. That's what you're attempting to do, which you should be complimented on, because that doesn't always occur. Is there anybody else within the audience who wishes to make a comment?
I just noticed that we need to make a correction in the agenda item. It appears that the ordinance itself is correct, but there's a duplication of SID 1446 in the agenda item, and it looks like the last
Was added on?
one is supposed to be 1463 rather than 1446.
Oh.
So we'll just correct that.
When the motion's made, maybe you could do that?
Yes, as amended.
As amended. And you made the motion?
I haven't, but I will.
Okay.
Councilman, thank you very much. Agenda item number 8. I would move to refer it to council with a due pass and also as amended, as it has been amended by Mr. Stem.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. We move on to item number 9, Bill number 200649, authors the City Director of Finance of the City of Las Vegas, Nevada, to perform the duties of the City Council relating to the apportionment, combination, or reapportionment of assessments in the city's special improvement districts, proposed by Mark R. Vincent, Director of Finance and Business Services. Mr. Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That other item was so much fun, I thought we'd have this one. This is really more of a, it sounds more ominous than it is. Right now, what happens is periodically parcels are divided or subdivided or combined. And when those parcels do that, when that occurs to them within a special improvement district, then we have to do a reapportionment, basically, this is a mathematical calculation to make sure that everybody's paying their fair share of the SID based on the amount of land that they own in the SID. We do that right now through Public Works. They do a reapportionment survey. They let us know. We schedule an agenda item on the agenda for council to approve the resolution on the reapportionment. All this is asking is that the council delegate that to me because it is a rather funky process. When parcels subdivide, obviously people expect that they're going to get the subdivided portion. And that's all that we do. It's just a mathematical calculation. It's a simple thing. Public Works suggested that I was doing the first item, maybe we could do this item too to make your life a little easier and speed things up.
And these are always on consent, right?
That's correct.
So
Always on
I
consent.
don't remember there being one pulled off consent.
Yeah. So it's a straightforward process, and by delegating to me, it speeds it up that much further, faster. There's no reason other than that to do this. And if it wasn't, if council didn't have any interest in doing that, wouldn't necessarily hurt my feelings, but I think it's a prudent thing to do.
Did you have any questions?
I just have a comment. I always have a hard time, and will always have a hard time when we delegate the council's duties to directors and senior staff members. There's a reason for this office as a city council person, and as a mayor, and how this government operates and functions in this city. But I think Mr. Vincent is correct in his explanation as to the task at hand in regards to giving him the authority to handle this item, Councilwoman. So I don't have a problem making a motion when the time comes.
Are there any other comments? Anybody wish to speak in the audience? I'll make your motion, Mr. Councilman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Agenda item number 9, I would make a motion to refer to council with a due pass.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Moving on to our last item, number 10. Bill number 2006-50 establishes a regional sewer connection charge as a means of funding the city's share of an alternate conveyance system to be built and operated by the Regional Clean Water Coalition, proposed by Mark Vincent, Director of Finance and Business Services. Mr. Vincent?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark Vincent again. This bill is necessary for the city of Las Vegas to be able to pass along what we could call the surcharge, if you will, for what we call the Systems Conveyance and Operations Program or SCOPE project, which is what this conveyance system is called, SCOPE. We need to be able to pass these along to our customers so that we can make our contribution to the CWC to pay for the huge infrastructure cost to build this project, which is essentially just a special pipeline that will take treated wastewater and deposit it in the center of Lake Mead, which will allow, which will prevent a phosphorus type algae bloom in the lake from reoccurring as we had, I think, back in 1999. That was one of the contributors. So this was a proactive approach that the 3 wastewater facilities took. They didn't want to see that reoccur, and so that they formed this coalition to try to solve this problem. They spent practically 2 years trying to find a technical solution to this. This is what they've arrived at. The fee will start at $400 per equivalent residential unit, which is a compromise from what the CWC wanted to have. They wanted to start with an $800 ERU charge, and they have brought that to $400 after having some consultation with Southern Nevada Home Builders and the Association of General Contractors and other interested parties. So we think this is a good compromise for them. And as I say, this money will not stay with the city. We pass it along to the CWC so they can pay the debt service on the project as well as the operating costs.
Yes.
Councilman, just to clarify, the bill as drafted in your books reflects the $812, and the deal hadn't been worked out in time, so the first amendment is before you has the new amount in it at $400. And then at July 1st, it goes back to the original schedule.
That was my question.
Yeah, the schedule would be on page 3, First Amendment, 14.04, 23, 22, subsection D.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. When does this revert back?
It's scheduled to go up every 6 months. On July 1st of 2007, it will go up to 812, and then we'll go up every 6 months thereafter until you get to January 2009.
And then what happens in January of 2009?
They'll have to make a reassessment of where they need to be. By then, they should know more of what their fixed debt costs are and operating costs, and may have to be another adjustment as well. It will depend upon, I'm not an expert in this area, even though this is my bill, but I'm not a technical expert, but essentially what they're doing is the pipeline has so much capacity, and right now our current combined wastewater is about, I believe, 40% of that pipeline capacity. So they have, again, through various public meetings and meetings with interested parties, they've arrived at the split that 40% of the pipeline should be borne by existing ratepayers, and that new connection charges should pay for the other 2/3. As you can imagine, we know who's connected to sewer now. Estimating who's going to be connected in the future is not necessarily a science. So to the extent that we have more or less connection revenue coming in from new connections, they will have to adjust that. They will likely have to adjust that rate in the future as well.
Okay,
So
thank
I
you.
imagine it will continue to change over time,
Thank you, Mr. Ritz.
which did lead me into the statement that you can see coming. There will be an additional ordinance that will be coming somewhere down in the future to assess the surcharge on our existing ratepayers, that it will be pretty nominal, probably in the neighborhood of $4 or $5.
Of existing users?
Pretty insignificant, actually.
Well, $5 is a lot of money to me.
Yeah.
If you multiply it by enough people,
Yeah.
it adds up. Is there anybody else who has any questions? All right, Mr. Councilman, do you have a motion to make?
I do, Councilwoman, thank you very much. On agenda item number 10, I make motion to refer to council with a due pass. No,
All,
on the First Amendment,
First Amendment.
Councilwoman.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Our last item is citizens' participation. Does anybody in the room wish to be heard under this portion of the agenda? Last chance. Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned. Another day, another committee meeting done.
You just said a baby. David.
You see, the problem is, all right, we've got a lot of unlicensed contract, carpet layers, for instance, all right, they go take out the carpet in Summerlin and that. Those places are gated communities, they don't allow you to leave that stuff out at the curb. And those old ladies or whoever is not gonna do that, right, so they throw it, they pick up, well, no, they come down, and of course, they don't have any, lights in the transfer station, so they just, well, they just, well, they have to pay, they can do that. But they don't.
Trademark.
Yeah, we're not, Chris has been out of town,
Why-
he's going out to Kentucky this week.
Is that on our part? No, that's probably the one. Yeah, that's what you guys had.
Well,
The
the original is certainly not wrong, so.
You're right. In the electronic file,
You're right, no.
and when it gets attached, if she's converting it, then that's, excuse me.
Well, we gotta stop the conversion then, because this doesn't make
The
any
one
sense.
about, which one is that? I'm assuming there's a reason why we.
This is the
So
first,
that I can.
this is the one that's gonna get held in the pants. I mean, look at this.
This is the one I didn't understand. Oh my gosh,
It's,
Oh, okay, that's gonna explain it.
is that what happens? conversion from
over
Word.
time as the district has developed parcels divides.
I mean, we don't have that problem in any other bills, so I don't know why we're converting them all.
It's something on one file
So
then.
that the
Because that's what happens when I get a lot of stuff from the bond council. Whatever they're doing, every once in a while I'll get one like that. Yeah, because that's a double print.
And all this we do is this stuff on the agenda when it happens.
This one's
It's a
a,
mathematical calculation.
this one we did,
It's something in the,
It's for public works, but it's speed up the
And-
process.
in the conversion from Word perfect.
and when it shows up on our screen, so it's when it prints,
Charge, I think, we're all kind of.
it's a printing problem because, you know, we look at what's on the screen.
But I think the home builders are really satisfied with this.
Good, good. I don't know how, I don't know, it's whatever. So nice to talk with you.
Yeah, you know, I told my secretary, I have a new secretary, and this is like about the fourth time this has happened. And I said, Terry, I said, whenever I get a phone call from the city manager or from a council member and I'm not there, please just patch me through to my cell phone, just,
Yeah.
because sometimes you're a little too polite, and I'd rather if you just get patched through, we can have a conversation.
Well, those were the only things.
Okay.
I'm fine.